Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the good old Reddit League, Season 3. I'm Zatomo, and I'm joined as always by Calamity. How are you today?
Ja, mir geht's gut. Wie geht's dir?
Ich bin gut, aber sehr heiß heute für mich.
Mhm.
Nicht sehr gut. Yeah, so unfortunately, Germany doesn't have too many islands, which is our map for this week, but
It actually
did
has
give me...
it has a few, but
does
none of
have
them
a
have
few,
coverage.
but I think there are any of them in coverage, yeah. So unfortunately, we won't get to see that. And also, neither of our competitors are from Germany this week. Our matchup today is Raidman Mucha and Orpheuus, Poland and France, respectively, in Division 1, Calamity.
Yeah, unfortunately can't speak Polish and I've already done French, so yeah. Yeah, Raidman coming off the season where he finished second and probably wants to repeat that. He's currently doing pretty well after he had not a bad start to the season by no means, but sort of an unlucky one where he had a bunch of draws and stuff like that, despite having good performances, and he had a loss in week 2 as well. But he's made his way back up the table, and he's currently in a good position again to get into those playoffs. And Orpheus as a newcomer to the league has also been doing very well so far, and is also still very much in the fight for the not promotion playoffs, but the actual playoffs.
Yeah, the championship playoffs for Division 1. The top 4 players go into a single elimination little tournament and to decide who the winner is. So at the end of the regular season, all that matters is you're in the top 4, and they both are right now, 3rd and 4th respectively, 1 point separating them. Raidman, a lot of aces. I think didn't he win the most aces last season?
Maybe. I've got Raidman, Mr. Blue, and Radu in my head. One of those, definitely.
Most aces. Oh, Radu did with 24, so he just beat out him. Actually, he wasn't even in the top 3. Never mind. But he was up there.
Mr.
He was
Blue
close.
and Giovanni, yeah.
So, but he had 20 something, so he was pretty close compared to what he is last season. For that, both of them have a perfect game as their best game, but Raidman's average quite a bit higher. They're almost 2,000 points, over 2,000 points higher than Orpheus's. So yeah, our map in week 9 is islands. We're back to a world map with a theme, and average score is 14,371, and the author definitely likes to favor small little islands. So unfortunately for a lot of us, big islands, big island nations are not included. Just a lot of those little small ones off the coast are, though.
Yeah, not even necessarily off the coast, though. All kinds of islands in... I've had quite a few locations in, for example, Moscow and Stockholm in practice, something like that. You could have locations in Vienna. There's a bunch of islands basically in capitals around the bigger rivers. I've had a location in Paris as well. So definitely in the map. Whether you get them in the seed is then a different question.
Yeah, interesting. I don't think I've ever gotten any of those in my practice games, so that's interesting to hear for sure. It's a world map, Calamity, so I think this is going to be pretty close between the two of them. Orpheus on a good run of form, and Raidman not leaving too much room for those new competitors to challenge him for the title this season.
It could be close, but as always, it depends a lot on the seed. With islands especially, there can be islands where it's just very difficult to get good information, and then it becomes a matter of, do you know the island or do you not know the island, as I'm sure you would you would know after your game.
Yes.
Yeah, if we get a seed with not too difficult locations, then yeah, it can totally be a close game. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we see someone dominate, especially as we're going really low with the time limits here now with 3 minutes. So that's not a lot of time to figure out which random island you might be on.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, an interesting point that you might even know the country, but it might be such a small little island somewhere you don't even know where it is to even begin looking for it. So as we jump into round number 1 here, We'll see what they can do. And we've got, looks like a Latin American, South American location.
It's interesting actually
start.
because it took me forever to realize where we were when I was playing it, but now looking at it, I'm like, this is obviously Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and Orpheuus zooming right in on it right away.
Yeah, it's just kind of probably while I was playing it, it sort of slipped my mind that that is in fact an island. Um,
Yeah, Puerto Rico is in our map pool for season 2 of Reddit League, so
mm,
this location should be quite familiar. The city name of Ponce everywhere, which could also make it easy to at least start to pinpoint.
yes, important to note here as well. As I said earlier, Orpheus is a newcomer, so he didn't play Puerto Rico last season. But as you said, with Ponce there everywhere, it's not too difficult to figure out where you are.
Yeah, Raidman just throwing down an initial pin there, not really zooming in too close to start pinpointing. Is still looking for some more information.
Yeah, the problem is with Puerto Rico that depending on where exactly you are, street names aren't really that common to find.
Mm.
More so usually numbers for streets, but you don't have too many of those in Ponce.
Yeah, so they'll be looking for directionality, points of interest that they might be able to spot, major landmarks. Looks like what Raidman is trying to chase down here as he heads down a main thoroughfare.
I think it looked to me
Orpheus.
like Raidman walked over a river, but
He
he
did,
just never
yes.
checked, so I can't say for sure.
Yeah. Osage and Victoria. Interesting little street names there that now Orpheus is going to start to look for. And they've got about a minute left to try to find that location. But pretty densely populated area. Lots of small little streets. The names don't show up too easily. So
I
see what they can do
I
here.
saw Victoria on Orpheus's screen. He was zooming in on it, and then he just zoomed away from it again. So I don't know what
He
happened
missed.
there, but it was definitely right where his mouse was on his screen.
And then Raidman will finally zoom into the map with only 30 seconds left to start his pinpointing. And they're both gonna. There's that bridge. He knows he'll work his way backwards from where he spawned, keeping track of his movements. Looking for some names or maybe points of interest that could match. Orpheus also looking for those street names, but yet to see Victoria like Calamity did. And Raidman will get just off 4,999 points for him, just 3 blocks away. Orpheus a little bit further away, but still getting 4,997 points. So neither of them getting an ace Calamity, but still doing quite well.
Yeah, we can already ignore or put a cross behind the perfect game. That's not happening anymore. So at this point, 2 points behind for Orpheus really doesn't matter. I say that now, and then I remember the one time Radux lost by 107 points, so it might matter, but it's unlikely.
It might matter indeed, as we'll jump into round number 2 here. Just keep things moving along, and a very different setting for this round.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of evergreens and rolling farmland compared to the tropical
Certainly
Caribbean.
not Puerto Rico anymore.
Yep. Now the trick is, are we in the US or Canada?
Hmm.
Not always as easy to tell as you might think.
It's never. It's
Especially
almost never easy to tell.
yeah, but that sign is probably going to point us to Canada. Yep, that one will.
Yep.
That road. Certainly get it. And sure enough, Orpheus will know we are in somewhere in the eastern part of Canada. He actually found the road. That's at least the right one. Now those provincial road signs are unique, right? So if he knows the province signs, that will help him out quite a bit.
They are unique, yeah. They're not, you don't have too many provinces in Canada, so if you're not as lazy as I am, it's not too difficult to memorize all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, my problem is I only memorize like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, it's not one of the ones I know, so I guess I'm out of luck. So, but yeah, definitely in my practice games, I tried to make sure I was familiar with the eastern coast because it popped up quite a few times, Nova Scotia and Newfoundland kind of area. So,
Probably not Nova Scotia. I don't think that's an island, but uh, Prince
well, it
Edward
has
Island.
islands. It has islands off of it. Right?
Okay, does it?
But
Yeah, I can look it up quickly.
I haven't seen anything else. Still traveling on some pretty open dirt roads. Not dirt roads, unpainted roads, rather.
Yeah,
Newfoundland's got a few islands there.
Yeah, Newfoundland for sure, but I was just Nova Scotia. But yeah, it does. But kinda. Like they're still connected by roads, and it looks like, even though it looks like the map is blue at some points here where it looks like that would be an island, it's still like a road on solid ground, not like a bridge.
Oh, okay. Maybe not quite island material, but pretty close.
Yeah, I think it does have. Yeah, this looks like it might be an island, and they just, because it's like maybe like 500 meters, they just put dirt and rocks there and made a bridge on top of it.
Mm. And Raidman will zoom into the map quite later on than Orpheuus, but that won't stop him from getting the ace. 5,000 points. He finds the road, and so does Orpheuus. What do you know? Another ace for him as well, which means we keep things very tight going into round number 3, Calamity.
Not too difficult of a round, because I was unfortunately not paying attention to anything there after like a minute or so. I can't tell. What did Raidman find to?
They both saw the provincial road number.
Oh, okay.
They both had the road they were on, and then after that, it was just down to pinpointing where exactly along that road, using some curves and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's the exact location.
That's definitely enough to find it. Then, if you know the provincial road signs, pointing you towards Prince Edward Island, at that point, I would expect those players to get 5K.
Mm-hmm. And they certainly do as we move on into round number 3 and Cyrillic.
Yeah. Little fun fact, Orpheus actually zoomed past, maybe he looks back again. Yes, this little yellow sign below the big one actually has the city name on it. It's very difficult to read, and I don't know if you'd recognize it unless you already knew where you were. Like you'd recognize the city, but maybe you wouldn't recognize that necessarily as the city name because it's like a small word in a long text of things that's written very small. But it does have it on it.
Always nice to know that they have seen it. There's a nice river as well. That could be very useful for pinpointing. And I believe Orpheus also just went past one of those big, either oblast markers or city markers. I can never remember. I think they might even be both at times. They're not always just one or the other.
He was looking at a bus that said the name of the city in big letters there.
So hopefully maybe he picked that up.
Maybe.
We're never quite sure. Just because a player has seen something and knows it doesn't mean they immediately go to their map and drop a pin.
Yeah.
Especially with this time limit, they want to get all the information they can before they move over to the map. So,
like I would have thought like we had in round 1 with Orpheus seeing or having Victoria big on his screen, I would have thought that he'd noticed that as well, and he didn't. So.
No, that's kind of the fun about casting this, is we say, well, maybe he saw that sign. I don't know, did he? And then sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yep.
Very interesting street here for Raidman. He's got some of those like streetcar power lines. So
they're both going the same way, so Orpheus will eventually go there as well, but he's quite a bit behind, actually. I think he's moving a bit slower.
Yeah. Checking out the sign, trying to find good indications of city names. That might be helpful.
Interesting sign, yeah. I mean, it tells him at least he's in Russia if you didn't know. And it also says the city there. Although it's very, washed out.
Full address, yeah. And sure enough, Russia does have some nice little islands way up there.
There it is.
Yeah.
Should probably put it on the island and not in the main city.
Yeah. And Orpheus checking where I thought we might have been when I first played the round. Actually dropping a pin way east in Yakutsk. That's not where we are. Maybe not seeing any name. And sure enough, that will cost him dearly. Unfortunately, on the wrong end of Russia, and even on a world map, that's not good. 126 points is all we got, and I needed to stop it. 4,991 for Raidman, just a little bit too far up the road for him there in his pinpointing, but a bit tricky. Not a lot of signs around, so obviously did a lot better than his opponent and opened up a huge gap, Calamity, that might be impossible to come back from.
Yeah, and now we know Orpheus definitely did not, at least consciously read the city name on the bus. Unfortunate for him, as he was still very much within like draw range for Raidman. But with that, it's now going to be very hard to get back into that because, as we all know, Raidman doesn't really do many mistakes, and he'd need to make one horrible mistake for Orpheus to catch back up because there's really not that many islands or not that many countries where islands are that far apart that you can make a mistake that costs you almost 5,000 points. It's kind of really only Russia where you can do that. Maybe technically you can do it with some US islands that might be in the Pacific, or maybe with mistaking French islands, like around like French Canadian islands with French islands, but it's like a rarity. So it's
US, Canada, Russia, probably the only countries you could really be in. Know the country, but then be on the opposite end of it and lose 3,000-4,000 points in.
Yeah, so. And even if you're like just on the opposite end of the US or Canada, it's not that big of a deal in this instance because, as you said, you'd lose 3,000-4,000 points, but not 4,800. So he'd still be ahead of Orpheus. So Orpheus would need another mistake from Raidman then. With 2 rounds requiring 2 mistakes from the guy who was in the final last season, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Anything can happen in Geoguessr. We've seen crazier things, and as we jump into this one, the country pretty obvious right from the start. So, at least the region of the country and region, yeah. So, Norwegian.
For me, it's just a bit blurry from the start, so I couldn't really tell it.
Yeah.
I assumed because of the white road sign on the side of the road, but I'm just seeing blurry forests right now.
Yeah, well, that's not, to be honest, I'm not seeing much else myself other than slightly making out some black font on those white signs. They're stopping barely long enough for their browser to load the images before they jump to the next location, so it's pretty blurry for us all.
I think with the white signs, it has to be Finland. It can't be Norway. I don't think it's Sweden. No. So I think it has to be Finland.
The dotted lines can be Sweden, right? Or Finland.
I don't know about the lines, to be honest.
Has, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about, but that's not something I ever bothered with.
Now, here's the thing. If it could be Finland, for me, I always worry that it could be Estonia because I have a real hard time separating those two. There are times when like the language looks a little bit or the city names or something, but I don't think at this level they'll have that problem. But
it's too hilly here to be Estonia.
Ah, okay.
Estonia is pretty much completely flat.
Mm-hmm.
And there we saw Tinningo, or however you want to pronounce it, probably not like that, which is Swedish actually. So Sweden after all.
You made me second guess myself.
I don't know what I made you second guess yourself.
You said maybe Finland, and I was like, well, I thought that the striped roads were Swedish.
Now that I can actually get a better view of the road sign, yeah, it's obviously Sweden.
The problem is Sweden is like the mother of all small little islands with coverage.
Mm.
Probably worse than Greece.
It's definitely worse than Greece.
In that
Greece, at
sense.
least, most Greece islands are of like a reasonable size and they're like quite far apart. So they don't just all blend together like they do in Sweden.
Yeah, and you can see Raidman has to search up and down the coast and through all these little islands. And there we go. He's got it.
Yep.
It was in there somewhere and he found it. And now it's up to Orpheuus to at least put up a good show so he doesn't lose too many points. And hope Raidman will make a huge mistake in the final round as he gets an ace in that one with time expiring. 4,376 for... I hit pause. There we go. For Orpheuus. And yeah, Calamity even dropped more points. So he's probably more than 5,000 points behind now.
Definitely.
So mathematically impossible with the last round. So playing for score differential and bonus points as we go into round number 5, Calamity.
Unless he finds some way to get more than 5,000 points in round 5.
I don't think he can, at least not legally.
Probably not.
So, and we'll just jump right in. And another very interesting northern location.
Yeah.
For this one. Now, I would say Alaska, but could be Canada.
One of those two was right.
I haven't seen anything that would give it too much away. White sign, so probably not the U.S. I don't know. There's not many places that have white signs in America. The big clue is the speed limit signs, which are very different. Speed limit in the U.S. and they say, what do they say? It's max.
It might be, yeah. I just know because, US uses miles and Canada uses kilometers. So usually the number in Canada is higher.
Yeah, the numbers might be noticeably higher, so it would make no sense if it was in miles per hour. But neither of them have yet to see too much to confirm. There we go. Great Canadian dollar store. That'll do it for Orpheus. Yep. And there we go. The Baie Verte Peninsula.
Yep.
And
take a guess. What does Baie Verte mean?
Baie Verte. 4?
No. It took me a while to understand the connection you made that got you to 4, but
yeah.
No?
No?
I can tell you one of the right translations is on the sun, and the other one is literally the same pretty much in English.
The Green Depot.
It's Green Bay.
Is it Green Bay?
Yeah.
Really? Baie Verte? That obviously French, right?
Yes, French.
French Canadian. That's one thing I don't remember is colors in French. I don't know my colors. You'd think they'd be somewhat familiar, but nope, they're not.
It looks like both of them. Actually, Raidman hasn't zoomed in yet. Orpheus had his marker on the right island, but he's sort of going away from it. And Raidman seems confident enough. Sort of confident about Newfoundland.
He will double check.
Nope.
With only a couple seconds left, he won't have a chance to really move it. Oh, he found it at the very last second. There we go. 2 last second adjustments in this game seals the victory for Raidman Mucha. 4,999 points. So I'll be a little upset he misses out on an ace there. But probably lucky to find the town in the last second. And Orpheus after...
I was just going to say, this round really surprised me in the sense that for me, that was the easiest round of the seed. Probably should have been Puerto Rico, but in actuality, it was this one. And a lot of people really seem to struggle with it.
Because honestly, from the beginning of it, I thought it was on the west coast of Canada. So The climate and everything seem to be the other side.
Does Canada
So,
have? Yes, Canada has a small
yeah,
west
yeah,
coast.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Mall West Coast.
I mean, yeah, it
Probably
is.
bigger than all of Austria. But
Yeah, probably.
yeah. Anyway, 4,262 points for Orpheus will give him a decent shot at seeing if he can pick up some bonus points and not falling too far behind in his score differential. But with this win here, that gap between those two will be even larger going into the last few weeks, Calamity.
It's just about bigger than Austria. It's not much bigger than Austria. Um, but yeah, for Raidman, that means now he's probably pretty secure in his promotion spot. Maybe just making sure he picks up a couple bonus points maybe in the last 2 weeks, and then he should be good to go. And for Orpheus, that means he is now sort of in a freeway fight for that fourth playoff spot against Anaglu and Giovanni. That is not an easy fight to be in. He does have one perfect game, which is the same as Anaglu has, but one more than Giovanni. So he's maybe in a slight advantage there. Also better score difference, but he kind of needs to get good results now in his last 2 weeks if he wants to make it there. And the good thing for him is that he's now playing against Orpheus, and yeah, he's playing against himself. That's right. He's playing against
In a sense, he is, of course.
playing against Kevin Kroner and Equinox, against last and second last place in the last 2 weeks. So he's at least still got it in his own hands and has not too difficult opponents. Obviously, in Division 1, no game is easy, but as compared to if he was playing against Mr. Blue or Boxer or it's not the worst situation to be in for sure.
Definitely got some friendly matchups coming for him there, so we'll see what he can do in the last few weeks. If you'd like to know how these final few weeks are shaping up and who has a shot at promotion / the championship title and who is going to have to taste the bitter defeat of relegation, check out the league show we do every week, covering all the action and giving you those tables as well as the results from every division from 1 down to 5B. And we'll see you all there. Take care.
Bye.